Being overprepared is impossible, and other mottos by Please Dial 123. Chapter 8. Trouble on the way to wave.
I can't do it!
Naruto moaned.
I'm going to die! Think about we feel you stupid freak!
Sakura hissed. Naruto managed to make a face at her from where he was laying face down in the dirt. All out of energy? Kakashi asked mournfully, looking at the heaps that were his students. Sasuke tried to stand as if to prove he could and failed, muttering into the dirt. Well, I suppose we can set up camp here, Kakashi said. We are only 3 hours away from the meeting points.
But we have to be there by tonight,
Sakura whined. Nope, we need to be there by tomorrow at noon. They all stilled before turning deadly looks on him. He grinned. I lied. We had an extra day, he told them cheerfully. Their screams of rage scared away all the birds in the area, but they had no energy to attack him, so he continued, grinning at them. By the time Kakashi sensed a group coming down the road, his Genin had laid out various plans of dealing with bandits and other troubles. They had also all taken a dunk in the river a few kilometers over to wash the travel off. They were dressed neatly, carrying only small packs that held the essentials for a few days of travel. The rest was sealed up. Weapons were strapped to their backs, and they all looked rested and ready, faces set politely. He had to admit they actually looked like ninja, as they all stood ready in dark clothing, loose ends bound tightly at wrists and ankles and waists. Naruto and Sasuke wore their headbands across their foreheads, while Sakura's was wrapped neatly around her throat. Sasuke's Satsuma protruded above his head, strapped loosely to his bag. Sakura had her hammer sealed in a scroll tucked in the top of her kimono top for easy access. Naruto's sickle and chain were tucked at his waist. They had been told not to use the weapons unless they were sure they could, or at the very least, use it only if it was useful and drop them the moment they became a burden. This would actually be a good mission to test them out against low-level opponents. If they couldn't handle a weapon, well, it was more of a liability, but this would give them some experience wielding them in battle.
His cute little Gideon looked like proper shinobi, and it brought happy tears to his eyes.
So cute! He cried, burying his face in his hands. They grow up so fast!
So embarrassing!
Naruto moaned. Sasuke gave Kakashi a look that screamed, You're an adult, act like it! While Sakura just shrugged it away, giving Kakashi a comforting pat on his arm. A team of Chunin came into view with an older civilian man. Atake! Katetsu greeted, the only one familiar to him. Kotetsu! Kakashi greeted with an eyes smile, lifting his face from his hands. You're relieved. We will take the mission from here. Yes, sir! They all snapped salutes. Without another word, they were gone, leaping into the trees. How do they know we aren't imposters? Sasuke asked, frowning. One of them was an Inuzuka. Hard to fool their noses. Other than that, this was a C-rank mission. It is doubtful anyone would go to that length to get a hold of a bridge builder, Kakashi explained. And if you watched very closely, you would have seen some of the silent signals I made with my posture and which they responded to.
Who are you?
Said Bridge Builder blustered, narrowing his gaze on them.
I asked for ninja, not a group of shrimpy kids.
Naruto's cheeks puffed up indignant, but a sharp look from Sakura had him holding his tongue. Team 7, Kakashi said lazily. I'm the Jonin in charge. Atake Kakashi. Are you Taza?
Yeah.
The man frowned before taking a swig from a sake bottle. Well, this was going to be fun. At least it would make his kids get used to working with prickly civilians. Let's head out then. We have 6 hours of daylight, Kakashi said cheerfully. Their first sign of trouble came 4 days later, a week's travel out of Konoha at a civilian pace. Kakashi spotted the puddle as soon as it came in sight and then turned his eyes on his students. Sakura was frowning, glancing around as if she could sense something out of place but couldn't figure it out. Sasuke had tightened his fists, also sensing something off. And Naruto, well, he obviously didn't sense anything off in the environment around them, but he was very quick to pick up on the tenseness that ran through his teammates. All their reactions showed something about them. Sakura was a well of knowledge and a quick evaluating mind. She had seen the puddle in view and subconsciously realized that in this dry weather, such a thing was out of place even if she hadn't yet focused on the puddle itself as what was bothering her. Sasuke could most likely sense the faint buzz of chakra in the air from the genjutsu, and Naruto, good with emotion and reading people as he was, had picked up on his teammates' wariness immediately. Kakashi watched as Sakura's frown turned deeper and felt their chakra well up. Sakura had gotten so good at dispelling low-level genjutsu she didn't even use hand signs anymore, just very precisely pulsed her chakra. The genjutsu shattered just feet ahead of them, and the enemy was left surprised as they were suddenly pulled from their cover. They quickly tried to rally and attack. Watching his students react was like proudly looking at something you had worked on finally being unveiled. Naruto used his sickle to deflect a chain out of the way, even as Sasuke used his bag as a springboard and launched himself at the two ninja now facing them. Sakura had gone the opposite and went low, aiming at the knees with knuckle dusters decorating her fists. One of the ninja managed to stumble back from them, but the other had to brace to block Sasuke's kick, which gave Sakura the moment needed to break both of his kneecaps. Even as the one went down screaming, Sasuke bearing down on him to finish the job, the second recovered. But he wasn't fast enough. Naruto was in his face, fists drawn back. As the man stumbled from the blow, Sakura was gunning for him as well, spinning neatly to nail him in the ribs with a hard fist. Kakashi withstood sympathy, knowing how hard Sakura could hit, the knuckle dusters helping all the more. The sound of his ribs breaking seemed to echo. Naruto punched him in the face a second time, and the man slumped out like a light. Kakashi looked at his students and the two ninja at their feet, one dead and one unconscious. Tazuna the bridge builder was gaping. "Good job," Kakashi smiled. "Now, did their claws touch you at all? They are poisoned." None of his students had a single cut or bruise, though, and simply looked at them. He ruffled their hair as he went for the last enemy left alive. "Good job," he repeated proudly. Sakura and Naruto beamed, and even Sasuke gave a small curling smile at his praise. "Now, Naruto, make a seal for that one. These are missing Nin, so we can most likely collect a bounty."
Naruto obeyed with only the faintest grimace to the body.
"And now," Kakashi said, overly cheerful, "let's have a chat, Tazuna." The bridge builder looked ready to flee in the face of Kakashi's cheer because even he could sense it was hiding a monster. He broke immediately, giving up on the ruse and explaining the situation. Kakashi listened carefully and didn't let the emotional manipulation get to him, even as he saw Naruto tear up at the heart-wrenching story of Wave's struggle. In the end, Kakashi left the decision up to his team. While he had ultimate authority, letting them look over details and make logical decisions was good practice. They huddled a ways away, talking, laying out yes or no. Sakura seemed the most opposed for the simple reason they didn't know risk factors or any real details besides Tazuna's biased ones. Naruto was all for it because he was a bleeding heart who always wanted to help. Sasuke wanted the mission to test them on, and he glanced only once at Kakashi as if to double-check they had their oversight. A few minutes later, they were all back on the road, heading towards Wave, and Kakashi freely handed out hair ruffles. "Duck!" Kakashi ordered harshly. His students, used to obey his commands in all their training, dropped like stones. Sakura was quick enough to think of grabbing Tazuna and hauling him down even as a huge sword spun through the air and sunk into a tree just over their heads. "Dog formation!" Kakashi barked. His kids rolled away, coming up in a triangle formation around Tazuna, kunai drawn. They had taken many mornings in spars to drill into their heads various formations. Most were simple, just a quick command, but it worked better than yelling out instructions. It also had the bonus of immediately thrusting them into the mindset of fighting, and they knew to obey him when he used them. "Well, Hatake Kakashi," a deep voice chuckled. "Fancy seeing the copycat ninja all the way out there." "I could say the same thing, Demon of the Mist, Momichi Zabuza," Kakashi chirped. The man, now standing on the hilt of the sword, still buried in the tree, leveled a glance at his students, and Kakashi felt his hackles rise. Now, Kakashi said, deceptively calm. "If you have a problem, it's with me." Zabuza gave a nasty grin behind his bandages, but Kakashi leveled killing intent at him, and the man finally looked away from his students. An instant later, Kakashi was gunning for the man. He knew a threat when he saw one, and he was going to get this man away from his students right now! They exchanged a series of neat blows, Zabuza ripping his sword out to help keep Kakashi at a distance. Zabuza was decent with taijutsu, but much better at kenjutsu, as all the famed swordsmen of Kiri were. Kakashi ducked under a blow, only to be hit by the flat of the blade and tossed through the air like a ball. His vest absorbed a great deal of the impact, as did the thin armor he wore under it, hidden by the bulky green. Still, he was tossed back, flipping neatly through the air. When he landed on the water, it didn't even take but a brief moment to start using chakra to stick. Kakashi slid across the water, chakra helping him find purchase even as he tried to calculate the quickest way off the water. Before Kakashi could move, water snaked up, coalescing around him, leaving him hovering in a bubble. Never fight a Kiri ninja on water, they said, just like you never fought a Kumo ninja in a storm or a Suna ninja with a wind at their back, or a Konoha ninja when their students were in danger. "Water prison!" he burbled before holding in his air. "Got you," Zabuza leered. Kakashi was already working on subtle chakra manipulation, drawing air out of the water to breathe slightly. He would still suffocate, but more slowly, and Zabuza could do little while holding the prison, hand and chakra balanced, which was why the water prison was a two-man takedown technique. "Now, let's deal with the kids," Zabuza grinned. "If you touch them, I will show you why I am feared across every nation," Kakashi said lowly, a snarl in his voice and killer intent rising up around him like a tsunami. He caught the slight wincing of Zabuza's eyes, the tenseness of his shoulders, and merely snarled again as his threat sunk into the man. On the shore, his students were still positioned around Tazuna, but were exchanging harsh whispers. Then Sasuke and Naruto closed ranks as Sakura dropped to her knees beside Tazuna, hands pulling a scroll from her bag. A slow mist was settling around them, rising up suddenly from Zabuza. It was an impressive use of a jutsu, well mastered, and no hand signs in sight. A water clone peeled away from the man a moment later, and through his haze, Kakashi felt a grudging respect for the A-rank missing nin. Hand signless clones were a feat. But now, Kakashi could no longer see the shore or his students, though he could still sense them, even though the swirling chakra water encasing him. Kakashi was waiting for his moment, waiting to light this water up with his chakra that was gathering, pooling in his hands subtly. He would have one shot, and he needed to prepare without the ability to make hand signs, as frozen as he was in the water. He would have to trust his students to handle the clone. But just as he was getting ready to unleash his lightning, just when he was starting to fear the silence on the land, there was a sharp snap, and an arrow was coming straight for Zabuza's chest. The man swore, saw his course of action in a moment, and pulled back, dropping the jutsu holding Kakashi prisoner. Another arrow came flying, and Zabuza was forced to dodge another blow as Kakashi found his feet, shaking himself free of the chakra water like a dog. The mist started to fade with Zabuza's concentration, and Kakashi smiled grimly at Sakura and her wide-stance longbow held carefully in her arms and a quiver at her feet. Sasuke was tussling with the water clone, a Naruto clone backing him up while the real Naruto guarded the glines. "Zabuza!" Kakashi snarled, much like his ninken, forcing the man to focus on him and not the arrows still being aimed at him. Zabuza switched focus and mid-jump and came barreling at Kakashi, hands flashing through signs that Kakashi's Sharingan picked up in an instant. Kakashi thought of copying the water dragon, but decided not to at the last moment. Instead, he charged his body with the lightning chakra he had been gathering moments earlier. Kakashi was after him like a shot, a moment later heading straight for the dragon that roared a watery challenge. Kakashi grinned and let the electricity spark across his hands, a half-form of the Chidori. Zabuza's eyes widened in alarm, and then Kakashi was blasting through the dragon, white lightning around his fist as he headed straight for the man. Just before his hand could pass through the man's throat, a brace of senbon did it first, and Zabuza dropped like a stone, already half sinking into the water. Kakashi flipped over him, landed with a slide on the land, and cast a brief glance at his genin. Sakura still had an arrow knocked and drawn, while Sasuke was looking a little damp, but victorious. A hunter nin dropped from a tree like a wraith and hauled Zabuza out of the water by the back of his waistband. "Thank you for your help, Hatake," the Kiri hunter nin rasped through his mask. "Stealing a kill is rude, you know," Kakashi said pointedly. The hunter nin simply loomed. Kakashi understood. If he had killed Zabuza before the hunter nin, politics might have been involved, and Konoha definitely would have demanded the body. "Good loss, then," Kakashi waved. In a blink, the hunter and his prey were gone.
Shouldn't he have burned the body?"
Sakura asked, both in hand. That's Konoha procedure, Kakashi said. The Kirinin like to take their bodies back as proof. Heads alone don't do it for them. Besides, anyone might be leery of doing procedure before non-allies, especially one with a Sharingan. Sakura nodded, and Kakashi cast a critical eye over all of them as he covered his Sharingan. While his chakra was a tad low now, the last few months had dragged him back towards peak form, and he was not as exhausted as he could have been. Well, Kakashi smiled. Let's go.